Show me to a higher place.
Doing some extensive reconnaissance and discovered that there was no way we could take this cube in a frontal assault. It was about 50 kilometers by 50 kilometers. That's about 31 miles. It was very, very large, and not only that, it was well guarded by 100,000 elite Draco troops and a fleet of 100. Originally it was 100 dreadnoughts. By the time we got there it was 90. 100 dreadnoughts and a shield that was roughly the size of Pluto around the whole area that was designed to keep out anything that the Dracos didn't want to be there. They don't shield on their ships almost at all. Instead, what they do is prefer to allocate as much space into offensive capabilities as possible and thus shield by blowing the heck out of whatever they can. Yeah, hit them too hard and you won't have to shield them against them, basically, is a philosophy they use. But they don't really care all that much if they take collateral damage, which is another philosophy that we don't share with them. Some people know there is a natural grid. Some people call it ley lines, although that term's been used to refer to a number of different things. A natural grid on this planet, produced by the planet, tied to human consciousness. Some may know that this grid was modified to prevent human awakening. Now, at first we thought, well, can we remove the influence of the grid? But realizing that it is tied to human consciousness as it is, we obviously don't want to remove it. So instead what we did was we helped remove the negative influence. And we timed it for when we did, largely because we knew there'd be a lot of people who were meditating specifically to do that. So it made our job a heck of a lot easier. And that actually helped us flip the switch. And I shouldn't say us, I should say all of us, everybody who contributed to that, helped turn that grid from an oppressor into a booster. But the shielding that the Dracos used was using that grid. And when the switch was flipped, it dissipated and we managed to destroy the shielding entirely. At that point, we staged a distraction. Now, we had leaked earlier before the attack, we had leaked information that we considered the cube too tough a nut to crack, and we're going to hit one of their shipyards in another galaxy. So they promptly peeled off 10 of the dreadnoughts and sent them to that shipyard. Unfortunately, not as many dreadnoughts as we wanted to. 90 instead of 100 is more manageable. So we distracted them away and we staged a distraction to make it look as though we were attacking their fleet. We were attacking their 90 dreadnought fleet, but we wanted them to think that that was the sum of the attack. So we had our forces having a merry old time dodging missiles and blowing up ships and dropping them into other dimensions and things like that. And while they were busy focused on the fireworks outside, we snuck around 250 covert operatives that include both Silver Legion forces and allied Fifth Dimensionals that are from the Galactic Federation, and not the Galactic Federation of Light, the Galactic Federation, which is a different entity. We snuck on board with those 250 operatives, and they went around planting charges everywhere they went, also freeing captured human souls. Now, this cube had a number of purposes. One of its purposes was to hold a number of human souls of people who have been switched. I think some listeners are probably familiar with the concept, or who have been cloned, or who have otherwise been gotten in that non-physical way. And they were being held, and I hate to say it, they were not being treated very well at all. So we retrieved those souls. As far as we knew, we were able to retrieve 100% of the captured souls and delivered them to the Andromeda Council biosphere, one of the medical ones. We know they're in good hands and they're receiving the treatment they need after that very traumatic time among the enemy. And once we'd saved the last of the souls, we had one of our divisions hop aboard their flagship dreadnought and take over, much the same that we'd used ship capturing techniques prior, and send the signal to the cube, that signal to the operatives still aboard the cube that it was time to evacuate and detonate. And at that point, everybody just sort of popped off, and we pressed the button, and the cube went sky high. Yes, what was done to them is not good at all, but we're all very glad to have them safe and sound aboard the Andromeda Council biospheres and receiving the healing and the treatment that they need so that we can start finding them their way back to where they belong. It's not going to be a quick or easy process, unfortunately. And I can't release the exact number of souls, but it was upwards of 5,000. So we're talking a lot of people. Glad that these people are getting an opportunity to receive some caring and love. They use us as a food source. More specifically, they use our anguish. I would caution anyone thinking that they can, convince these guys to be nice. Keep in mind what they eat. They're not interested in being nice. Yep, 19 that we let escape, because with the cube gone, they're a little far from anything friendly. And one that we captured. Retrofitting it, we've removed all of the armaments, and we have removed the original engine. They use a fission engine. That is nuclear fission, much like what is going on at Fukushima right now. Not something you want basically running around spewing stuff anywhere. So we've dumped that down a void where it's not going to hurt anything. We've replaced it with a crystal drive, and we're refitting it in order to be a scout craft carrier. I've been told that on a dreadnought, the average tour is about 2 years before they have to go back to dock and refit. And the average Draco soldier pulls about 3 or 4 tours of duty before they are no longer fit to serve. It takes up about 1/10 the space of the old fission, doesn't require shielding, and has no horrible radiation leakage. We did not take prisoners, not this time. We kept it covert, so basically took out people in hallways, took out surveillance devices. Our unique way of getting around allows us that luxury of being able to just pop in and, plant an explosive device where nobody knows where it is, and then pop out, pop in, kill the guards who are guarding the human souls, evacuate the human souls, pop out. And that's more or less how it went. We had 250 operatives. We had 30% casualties, which, while that sounds like a high rate, it is a high rate. It amounts to 75 people, all of whom have been recovered. That means that those people who've sustained enough damage to die or return to source, bring them back or offer them the opportunity to reconstruct them, they accepted, and they're now in the infirmary recovering, complaining about how bored they are. To the best of my knowledge, there were no incarnated humans participating in this, simply because it was such a risky operation. Although there might have been some of the more powerful ones that I'm not aware of. But yeah, we did take casualties on it, but we still managed to succeed. The explosive devices that we placed were designed by our fifth dimensional allies, and they were designed to implode and then explode. And that basically destroyed the ship when there were hundreds of them placed all over. Actually, there weren't too many of them. That we had about 5, and none of them took any injuries. And they had, from what we can tell, they had a wonderful time. These are people who come from an origin that they lost a planet once to the reptilians. They blew it up. That kind of destruction is not forgivable. So they're not inclined to hold back. Well, there were 100,000 elite troops. And like I said, there was no way we could ever face off toe-to-toe with them. The Silver Legion's growing, but we're not that large. So we had to do this covertly. On the ships, I'm not too sure. Again, they weren't our main target. As far as I know, they had the typical complement, which was, 35 to 50 crew and around 100 troops. From near as we could tell, its purpose was as a prison facility for these souls, but they never do just one thing. Our fifth dimensional allies say that there were machine intelligences on those ships that were responsible for reaching out and contacting human channelers and feeding misinformation. Be very, very careful if you're trying to channel. Be very, very careful. Practice discernment. Don't be quick to take whatever it is at its word. Be very, very on the lookout for any anomalies, because they have tried to do this. They have tried to pull switcheroos on this, like this, on people. And basically what they want to hear, and not necessarily what is true. Yes, AI, artificial intelligence, programmed to behave in a certain way. Loaded up with specific messages to transmit and then programmed. And I mean, that's one way of bypassing the, the 3 times check. An artificial intelligence, it has no intent. And there's nothing wrong with being a little bit suspicious, at least until you've developed a good rapport and a good, and you know for sure you can trust this entity. There are things that benefit from lying to us. And watch for the messages. Are they messages of empowerment, or are they messages of disempowerment? Don't worry, we'll take care of you. You will never have to choose again. You will never have to make a decision or a choice. That is an unhealthy message. For instance, the only one who should be deciding our leaders is us. As near as we can tell, considering they're probably any that survived are contemplating deep space now. I don't think their fellows will stop and pick them up and rescue them. The destruction of the cube had to be total. It was designed in such a way that any damage to the cube would quickly reform. So the metal would warp itself back into place and heal the damage, so to speak. It was very self-repairing, and that meant it had to be killed in one strike, which is why all of the charges and the simultaneous detonation, which basically neutralized that self-healing ability, and it also meant total destruction. It was meant to be a permanent facility, and the room on the cube was enough that they had room for way, way more human souls. So I get the feeling that they were just getting started. It was out beyond the Kuiper belt, and I can give you the rough location, 15 degrees north of the ecliptic. I think north is the right term, towards the direction of Alpha Centauri. If the explosion was visible, it would have been visible only on very high-powered telescopes, most of which are not controlled by sources that have any interest in letting people know that this actually happened. Yep, that's where it was, and we nailed it. Well, it had obviously been in operation for a number of years. Who knows, probably continue torturing all those souls. You can generate an immense amount of food for reptilians out of thousands and thousands and thousands of human souls held captive on a facility like that. Plus, it was a base of operations. They could use it to refit their dreadnoughts and resupply on their food. It does mean that it will be harder for them to reach Earth and affect us. It's going to be more costly and take longer for them, and they'll have to go through portals. I don't think there are any large bases of the like anywhere else in our system. I could be wrong on that. We may have to do more recon. But it represents a large dent in their ability to mobilize in this system, especially on short notice. I think it was a combination of trying to fly under the radar and being pretty assured that nobody would be stupid enough to try attacking. Yes, it was a facility of rather immense size and capacity and well defended. If we had done it through conventional face-to-face means, we would have been obliterated. So I think they were counting on the fact that not too many would have been able to mobilize an effective force against it. Well, we received information about it, and we went out and we verified, because, we do verify, and discovered, okay, yeah, this facility exists, it's huge, it's a lot bigger than we thought. We'd already decided when we heard that they were holding human souls there, we decided we were going to take it down.